everyone. This is a fantastic interview episode of Electronic Cafe. It's a band that Mark brought to my attention about a year and a half ago, and absolutely fallen in love with them. And again, like everyone we meet, just amazingly lovely people as well. The band is Aircooled. They've got a new album out called Eat the Gold, which we absolutely love to bits. It's a powerhouse of an album, mate, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it's really hard to pigeonhole. I know it's awful to pigeonhole bands, but I mean, it's got electronic, glam, alternative, Kraut-rock. I mean, it's all in the mix there. And the members of the band are all ex-members of Piroshka, Jesus and Mary Chain, Suede. They're a real bunch of renowned musicians, and they're making a really good noise.
Yeah, I'm loving it. And again, we met Riz and Ollie from the band, and we saw them live for the launch of this album at Third Man Records, and we were just blown away. So we thought we just got to get them on to share these guys with our wonderful EC audience, and see again what the fuss is all about. Great band. Yeah.
So if you don't know, everybody, here it comes. Aircooled. Enjoy.
God, there was somebody called us. What was it? Draft Wind.
Oh, that's a good one.
Everyone, welcome to another fantastic episode edition of Electronic Cafe. We're talking to one of our favourite bands today, the mighty Aircooled. We've got Ollie and Riz here. Guys, great to see you, and thanks for coming to Electronic Cafe today. Great to see you.
Hello.
Thank you.
Yes, guys.
Congrats on this. Absolutely loving this. I think it's absolutely brilliant. You must be pleased with the response it's getting, because I've looked at some of the reviews online, and they're all just gushing over it, so you must be pleased.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, we're all,
I mean, I think I could probably speak for all of us, say we're really proud of it. It's gratifying when people say nice things. Of course it is, but I think it's hard these days. There's so much that goes out and doesn't really do the business that you expect it to. I know loads of people who've made great records that, for one reason or another, it didn't fly. Yeah. It could be one of those. Depends on your terms, doesn't it? I mean, you could hardly really call it a success. If you're Liam Gallagher, that's probably not a success, but feels like it to us, mate. Because me and Del and I sort of run the label that put it out, and we were looking at the numbers the other day. We must be close to sold out on it, so that feels like a success.
I think because we don't have any expectations.
Yeah, that's it.
Everything's a bonus for us. Yeah. We never set out to have like, oh, let's sell this amount, because it's not how we operate as a group. So I think we're just happy doing what we do, and if it's a success, then that's the bonus.
Obviously, we saw the album launch event, which was brilliant, and I guess when you saw that feedback from the crowd, that must have had a nice validation for the work.
Well, we did mess up on one, didn't we? There was an issue. Was that Third Man?
You noticed that.
Third Man, the monitoring wasn't great.
Yeah, it was quite a hard room to play,
and I think we missed the entire second verse and outro. Just kept going until it was over.
say, in so much, there's so much music released any given week, and to get an exposure to an album, like say your album or anyone's album, without the might of a major record label behind you with their networking and marketing and stuff, it's really easy for quality records like this to sometimes get lost in the mix of just the noise of everything going on.
I think it's true. I mean, but I've got a record shop, so I kind of see how this stuff goes. And basically, anybody that puts a record out has got a window of a week, maybe 2 weeks, where all the activity happens. And if you haven't made it work during that period, unless you get one of those word of mouth slow burn kind of things, that's pretty much it. We haven't got that kind of label. We haven't got that kind of money behind us or anything. So everything is really DIY. I think we've learned that that's actually a really nice place to be. So we totally embrace the DIY. And if anything, everything's become more DIY. So everything that, could be regarded as a success for Aircooled is just stuff that we've made happen, really. And that's a lovely position to be in, isn't it?
We have control of what we do, and there's no one else telling us how we do it. So
you've heard my story of happenstance, how I found Aircooled, don't you?
Well, Del was there. He said you were walking through the shop and heard him play.
I was on holiday for a few days at Bexhill with my family, and as you do, went looking for record shops. Went into Delaware. Music's Not Dead. Del was there, and listening to records, and St Leonards was playing. So I said to Del, "What's this?" And he said, "Oh, it's Aircooled, St Leonards, it's a new album release." And I said, "Oh, I'll take a copy." And he said, "Oh, it's not released till Friday." And this was about this was like on the Wednesday. He said, "Come back in on Friday, and I'll give you a copy." And I said, "Well, I'm going home tomorrow." And he said, "I'm going to the warehouse tonight." He said, and I think he was meeting you, Ollie. And he said, "I'll pick you up a copy. Come in tomorrow, and I'll give you a copy." So he gave me a copy of St Leonards. Loved it. Got home, played it. Played it to Andy. Put it on our Facebook group and our channel, saying, "Everybody, check this out." Rachel Atkins messaged me, and she said, "Do you know that Ollie? We'd just spoken to James a couple of times, like from EMF." Releases and his solo album. He said, "Do you realise Ollie was mine and James's best man?" It's kind of like, it was just like the way it all tied up. And then to take it one step further, Trevor sends us the OPD album, and Del's in it as well. And it's kind of like, I went into the record shop, and then like all these dots have been joined up. It's just like amazing little series of happenstance.
Yeah, well, there's probably a formula that works, but I'm not smart enough to work it out. But it's a big Venn diagram, and we're all in it somewhere.
Riz, I know you guys have all been in other bands. How did you guys all come together? It sounds like a similar story, but how did you all sort of find each other?
It's strange because I used to work in Small Fish Records in Old Street for many years, and nice. Ollie was a customer. So I kind of knew of this person. I thought he was quite eccentric, but, as you do when you're behind a counter at a record shop.
Yeah, they're all nutters.
All the customers were mad. But we didn't have an attitude in the shop. I think we had a very nice set of people working there because we all had our specialities. So, and I kind of knew of him. And then I moved to Hastings on a whim 12 years ago with my cousin and his wife because we just wanted to get out of London because it was just too expensive to live. And then someone just said, "Oh, have you met Ollie?" And I said, "No." Anyway, we managed to meet up and we kind of hit it off. The rest is history, really.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah, your lineup's so strong. I mean, it's sounding so good. I know you've been supporting some big names like Jesus and Mary Chain, Suede. Any other big names you're supporting in the pipe? I know you got your own tour, right, as well, coming up.
We've got our own tour coming up. Well, that's a way off. That's what, November, I think. I'm sure there'll be more shows before then. We would have had a Primal Scream support, but I think Justin was away. This is the thing, Justin, Justin's playing with the Jesus and Mary Chain at the moment.
Yeah.
So that, and I'm playing with Mickey Braney. So the tour, the Aircooled diary kind of slots in around that a bit. So yeah, we've missed a couple of things because of that, which is a shame. But it's it's fine. It's none of us were planned to do this anyway. This is like, I keep thinking of Aircooled as almost like bonus material. Like Riz and I have both been making our own electronic records for years, and I'd even started getting to the stage where I'm kind of thinking, I love doing this, but I don't feel driven to even put it out anymore. I just like sitting in my studio making my music, and I had this notion that I could make an album, get Phil down at Seaford to lathe cut the album, make a nice sleeve, and then just put it on the shelf and make the next one. Right? I'm not sure my ego could stand it, but it was a notion. So then this Aircooled thing happens, really, I think, just for something to do on a Monday night.
It's so weird how it's kind of evolved, because we didn't really take it seriously.
No.
We just had a lot of fun, and that for us was, like Ollie says, when you work on your own all the time, you just get so kind of in that little hole. Yeah. Everything else outside just becomes, oblivious. But this gave us an opportunity to actually do something fun and play live.
Me and Mark were in that crowd when you've done the launch album show, and the crowd were going nuts for it, and it sounded good.
Yeah, and I think when they took that booking, I think the people at Third Man didn't really know who we were, and I think it rather took them by surprise when the place sold out as quick as it did. They're like, who are these people? Right, wasn't it?
It was so lovely. Yeah.
But we're all a little bit older than the bands they're used to having in there, I think. And backstage there was this young guy who, I think he was the photographer.
He was.
And we're backstage, and I was discussing my stool sample, which I hadn't posted. And this poor guy, he must have been about 22, thinking, what are these people?
It's brilliant.
Correct me if I'm wrong. When I spoke to Del that famous day, he said for the first Aircooled album, there was talk at some time about having a label release it, but you chose to do it yourself.
Yeah. Riz and I both are really DIY people. We do everything on our records. Occasionally I'll play some guitar on Riz's, and Riz will sing something on mine, but we're essentially DIY. So we are used to that. We did think about going to a label, and we could probably have done it. We're well connected enough to have been able to talk to people. And I know, enough people we could have done, I'm sure. But it was Del really said, look, why don't we do it? Yeah. And I really like the fact that we are sort of independent of that whole system. To be honest, the last record, Eat the Gold, we thought, okay, let's step it up a bit. And we went to a distributor. And they were useless. And to be honest, I'd rather have driven around the country in the van talking to record shops. Maybe that next time, that's what we'll do.
I read about Shed 7's last album they just released. And they did it all themselves. They did the promotion, they did the whole package themselves, as opposed to paying a distributor on their previous album on a label and everything. And they had a #1 with their last album.
Yeah, exactly.
And all themselves. And they paid a fortune for all the whistles and bells on the album before, and it didn't chart anywhere near as high as their own one. So I guess from your point of view, and me and Andy was in bands, we know how it works, but from your point of view, you've got control over it and you can plan like what you want to do and where you want to.
I know, yeah. And you remember the vinyl electrodes, right?
Yeah.
They were a couple of doors down from me. And I remember when I was doing stuff with Polytechnic Youth and that label with Dom, and I just thought, God, they'd fit right in there. And I played him some stuff, and he loved it. So I remember talking to them, saying, "Look, do you want? I'd probably get you a release on this album. I'd introduce you." And at the time, I didn't understand their reluctance. They weren't fired up by the fact that there was a label that really wanted to put their stuff out. And I realised, they do all this themselves. And they don't see that there's any advantage to doing it another way. And you know, this was them on tour with, was it OMD in Germany and stuff, you know, and they were just running it themselves out of their front room. And you know, there's a lesson there. I think money buys you buys you stuff, but you give stuff up to do that. And this, I don't think that would work for us.
Riz, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but your Aircooled sound, for the people that haven't heard you, which obviously more and more will, how would you describe it?
It's like a mixture of Kraut-rock, electronica. What was that? Somebody coined a really nice label. Was it Kraut disco or something?
We've heard all sorts. Disco Kraut.
Kraut rave was another one. That was hilarious.
God, there was somebody called us. What was it? Craft Wind.
Oh, that's a good one. Anything to do with craft.
Hulkwork. No, Hulkwork.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. One of the two.
It's a real kind of, you know, like baking a cake. It's got lots of ingredients from all of our kind of love of music, and it works.
Yeah, I guess with you two, and obviously with Justin and Katharine as well, a lot goes into the pot. I mean, you certainly can hear glam elements, electronic elements, Kraut-rock elements. I mean, you know, there's some like Led Zeppelin type, you know, guitars in No Reason to Lie. There's a lot of touch points there, which, you know, me as a music fan, Andy as a music fan, just love listening to each of the songs. There's just so much in each song.
No reason to lie. I'm not that kind of girl and you're not that kind of guy. Can't make this happen and you can't make it stop. You can kick the can on down the road and wait for the bass to drop, but it's over. Kicking it over.
That's true. And I think that I've probably always been slightly wary of bands that try to do that. And I think you can sort of tell. So actually, No Reason to Lie, the riff, the basis of that sat I kind of lost it. I couldn't find the little kind of demo I'd done because I dismissed it because I thought, we can't do that. That sounds like Led Zeppelin, for God's sake. People will laugh at it. But actually, of course, once everybody else is involved and it gets chipped and molded and, bashed into something else, it totally fits because it's us. It's,
because we all had our, our own kind of vibe.
And
I
it's a
think
natural
that works.
process.
Yeah. It's not like we sit there going, oh, how are we going to do it? It just happens. Which is so much more kind of, I hate using this word organic, but
it is.
It is.
There's very little time between like your two albums, St Leopards and the Gold. Is the process different between those two albums, like writing and recording, or are you writing and recording all the time, and when you've got enough, it goes out into a release?
The first one was sort of a lockdown thing. Justin's studio was up the road from mine. I had made a record some years ago on, I think it was on Polytechnic Youth, called Music for Aircooled Motoring. And it was a sort of joke, art rock album.
This one?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. That's the one. The idea, I'll tell you briefly because I think it's funny. Nobody else seemed to think it was funny, but is that I was driving the camper van back from a holiday, and you couldn't hear the radio because the sound of those things and the sound of the, it's rattling and chugging and, So I recorded about 3 minutes of cab noise on my little Zoom recorder, and I designed this piece of music that would be complemented by the sound of the cabin noise so that you could play it in a camper, right? And there are these rather sort of po-faced sleeve notes on the back explaining the concept, but really, I mean, it was just an opportunity to make some kind of krautrocky noises. And Dom at the label occasionally would say, look, that was great, do you want to give me another one? So I started on that, and I had these demos that were called Aircooled 2, right? That's where that came from. They were the long tracks off the first album. I gave them to Justin, said, why don't you put some drums on here? And then as soon as he did, it's like, this is something else. This is a new thing.
Yeah.
And so I found some other bits that fitted, and we made this record together, got Riz to sing on one of them. And then we thought, right, this will be fun to do live. We got Katharine in, did a show, and that was probably as far as it was going to go, except that it went down really well, and we had an absolute blast. We thought, well, I'm not leaving that here. That's where it came from. And then I think we re-recorded some of the bass parts so that Katharine was on it, and so it's sort of loosely us, but the second one is very much written and us and everybody contributing kind of equally, and it's much more collaborative. And I think everything we do from this point on will be more and more so, I suspect.
Yeah, she can play a mean bass, that woman.
She is the queen.
Oh my God,
Queen Katharine.
Honestly, Riz, it's like you hear it on the album and live. It's like it's like Waterfront Simple Minds heavy bass. It's just
that's right.
I love it. It's absolutely, it's become part of your sound, which is brilliant.
Oh God, she's so important to the sound.
Totally, and the way
her and Justin work together.
I love watching them.
The rhythm section is just so important.
Yeah. And once that locks in, it's the backbone of everything, isn't it?
Yeah,
we're very privileged.
Totally.
Who were your inspirations, Ollie, Riz, that kind of made you go, I want to do this? What made you go, I want to be a musician and become where you are now?
I think my dad has a lot to answer to, unless he's no longer around. But he was really into prog. He loved Yes. I spent many a Sunday morning sitting looking at was it Journey to the Center of the Earth and the artwork by
Roger Dean.
Roger Dean. I just get totally,
amazing,
swept into that. Then I got into a lot of goth. I ended up being in a band that was a bit like The Cure.
Yeah.
And then I moved to London and I met the future sound of London. So for me, walking into their studio and discovering that you could make music through using, a sampler and very little else, Cubase or C-Lab as it was called then. Yeah. And that was the start of my own kind of personal journey.
Super cool dad.
Oh, yeah, he was. He was very much into his music, bless him.
Yeah.
Oh, and just to add, if you ever see the clip of Future Sound of London doing Papua New Guinea on top of the pop, that's Riz in the groovy suit.
Oh, gosh, and really bad dancing.
It's great. It's super cool.
And we did it live. Well, we did the vocals live anyway.
What about you, Ollie?
I probably seeing I was taught piano. I think seeing my cousin playing Here Comes the Sun on a guitar, thinking, oh my God, we can do that too. Okay. And then blah, 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 blah. I ended up bands, loads of bands, and nothing very successful. Had a Janice Long session in the mid-'80s with a band called Kiss the Blade. Guess what they sounded like? And then I started doing remixes actually with James Atkin when he was still in EMF. And we did one for not Moby, what's his name? Oh God Almighty, I can't remember the guy's name. He was guy worked with Seal.
Adamski.
Adamski.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We did an Adamski remix, which he didn't like, and we just thought, oh, well, this is great. Let's take all his stuff off it. We made our own tune, and suddenly we were making big beat music when that was all happening, and we got signed to Polydor and did some tours and blah, 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 blah. Similar sort of trajectory, I think, to Riz from that point. So I've got a background, I suppose, in guitar music, and then the 90s was total electronic dance music for me. So, there's a bit of all that stuff in what we do now.
James did a remix of Hyper Productive, didn't he?
He did, yes. Great remix, actually. It was good. It's fun. It just made me smile when I heard it, It's just good.
Excellent. James is... we've spoken to James a couple of times. We've been to EMF gigs and spoken to James and Ian. He is a sort of guy that does make you smile. He's one of those nice souls. He's really nice to be around him.
Yeah. I mean, he's probably the oldest friend I still see, and you get the feeling that he's always going to be around. I don't talk to him every week, but whenever I do, it's always, old mates. It's you don't lose that stuff really. It's nice.
So here's a question for both of you, which probably feeds a bit on from like your, why you went into music and your influences. But what would be your desert island discs?
God,
I know it's a hard question.
That's such a difficult question.
I know, and I bet it'll change every day, right? That's the other thing.
If it's about if you do that thing where you choose records that are significant, I would say for me, "Love Me" by Elvis. I still every time I hear that, I still reminded of the first time I heard it, and it's an extraordinary sounding thing. And then records that changed my life, like Just Like Honey by the Jesus and Mary Chain, was like somebody giving you a songwriting lesson. It's like they stripped it back, so it still sounded like a rock band, but you could see all the constituent parts. They couldn't have been simpler, and yet they made a thing of complete and utter beauty. And again, I can remember where I was when I first heard that, and that's like, oh, okay, I think I can have a go at this. So those two things.
Good choices.
I can see Riz thinking. I can hear your brain.
I think for me, the first record I bought with my own money was Kate Bush, Kick Inside.
Yeah.
And that just completely blew my head off because she was just so unique in her vocals, in the way she kind of presented her music. It just blew my head off because I'd never heard anybody like that before. I think as a kind of 11, 12-year-old, I was just like, oh my God, what is this? She really has paved the way for women in that respect because she does everything, you know. I've seen pictures of her, you know, with a Fairlight computer. And I'm just like, I think for me, that was really inspiring to have a woman who was like, you know, I'm doing it my way, you know, and I just love that. And so, for me, she was very much an influence on me.
It's interesting to talk about the Fairlight because we interviewed JJ Jexlick, who was part of the ZTT guys, first guy to use the Fairlight, and he worked with Kate, and he said she just kept wanting to keep exploring. She didn't want to sit still. You know, she's got that.
Pushing the boundaries.
But I think there's another aspect to her that I really like, you know, on that front, which is she doesn't seem to make a fuss about it. She doesn't seem to be pushing it as a feminist agenda. And I would, you know, it would be fine if she did. I haven't got a problem with it. I'm just very impressed that she's just getting on with it. And I think that's, you know, I mean, I would hope that we end up in a place where that's how it works. I think that's how it works in Aircooled.
I think it's really important. I mean, it's we do kind of have 3 female members when we play live, so I think, you know, it does, but it works, and I think we're very much all on the same page. So I think that's really important. But you know, the politics around gender and things, you know, having grown up in that scene where you are a lone female artist and you're having to deal with a lot of misogyny, you know, and it's quite weird because I read Mickey's book and I could totally identify with all the things she was putting forward about, you know, sound guys, how they would treat you, you know, and just men in general when you're on tour. And I could totally identify with that. And it's changed now. It's still there, but it's changing. It's probably a better way of putting it.
The Desert Island disc, I love that because there's, you know, me and Mark will normally say, "What do you think it's going to be?" And the Kate Bush one, I totally get the Elvis one completely threw me, which is great.
Got a huge soft spot for Elvis as well. Not the early rock and roll Elvis, but the late Las Vegas kind of Elvis. It's like, I think If I Can Dream, the '68 special, is probably one of the, it's like a moment that just like,
oh, I know.
My neck stand up whenever I see that. It's just like
an
immense thing.
That's what you want out of this stuff, isn't it? Those moments. Yes. My dad told me a story years ago about the first time he heard Elvis, and I think he was in the army or something. Anyway, he was in West Africa. He was in Sierra Leone, and he was sharing a tent. And the guy he was sharing a tent with had a radio and would tune into the Voice of America. This is like, you know, mid to late 50s or something. It's 56 perhaps. And he said, "Yeah, come and listen to this. Come and listen to this." And he went over and he said they were playing All Shook Up. And my dad said, "I'd never heard anything like this." I mean, it's like a weird noise rather than music, you know. And I love the notion that the first, you know, that you could hear something like that in the middle of the jungle. I don't know whether that puts it more in context or less in context or what. But if you listen to All Shook Up even now, it is the most extraordinary sounding record. There's nothing else sounds quite like it.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Weirdly, when we talk to people like yourselves, I mean, the album's only just come out, but when we talk to some of you guys, like artists, you've already got some other stuff coming out. Like we interviewed A Certain Ratio, talk about 1982, the album they brought out last year, and they said, "Oh, the next album's out. Well, we've done the next album already." I'm like, what? Have you guys already started putting stuff in the mix, or is it a bit too early?
We've got ideas, and we're going to get together in the week next week, because we haven't seen each other for a while. I think this way we're going to approach it slightly differently, but I think that's good, because I think it's good to kind of keep moving forward.
Yeah.
You know, so I think we might do this a lot more, you know, in the room together, perhaps.
What we found is that we recorded the last one quite quickly. And the way we did it was we would put bits and pieces together in one studio and then bass and drums in another, and then mix it in another, and so on. And Riz would record bits in her place. And then, having made the record, we then got together to rehearse it, to play live. And we found that it sort of finds its feet in a slightly different way once you start rehearsing it, once you start getting to grips with the live versions. And we just thought, wouldn't it be great to do it that way around? So we've got some demos. Some of them are a bit sketchy. Some of them are a little more complete. Some of them won't make the grade, you know. And we're going to work on them as if we're playing them live. We might even play some live before we record them. Yeah. And then once they've found their feet and are live items, as it were, we'll record them, and hopefully it will be a different set to the last lot we recorded.
And of course, you've got your tour in November coming up. We've already got our tickets for London.
Fantastic.
Yeah, people along.
Are we playing London?
What's the show in London? Oh, it's Two Palms, isn't it, in Hackney?
Oh, I don't know that one.
No, I've never been there.
Yeah, have we been there?
No, I don't think we've been there either. Unless they've renamed it, it's something else.
No, I think it's newish.
Yeah, looking for seeing you guys there. Be great. And I'm sure, obviously, everyone's watching this. You know, we'll put a ticket stream or dates and stuff.
Thank you.
So people can get tickets for you guys, because, you know, we want more and more people to come and see you.
These files are corrupt. This machine is unclean. I don't want this disease infecting me. I heard the crack of the camel's back, and I heard the grief is a new
I know you guys are pretty much in touch with a lot of new stuff. Are there any new artists you can recommend to our wonderful audience that you've gone, oh, I like them?
I quite like this new signing on Ninja Tune called Glass Beans. They're from Melbourne in Australia, but they're all from Southeast Asian backgrounds. They're very influenced by that. They're a 3-piece. I really like it because I'm really into kind of a lot of this crossover with world music, like Acid Arab and bands like that who do electronica, but also bring in the influences of their own kind of, ethnic backgrounds. And I love that. I'm a big fan of Turkish psych. So anything like that, I'm always a bit like, ooh.
What about you, Ollie?
I just played in Barcelona with Mickey, and the support band were amazing. All three of us were stood there kind of open mouthed thinking, oh my God, this is my new favourite band. I think it was their 5th show, and they're called Olalis, which is HOLALIS.
Right.
And it's extraordinary. It's this girl who writes all the stuff, and her brother arranges it and produces it. The album's amazing. It's delicate. It's like delicate krautrock with a bit of Julie Cruz in there. And I mean, it seemed to go all over the place. And I think there's more and more of that happening. I mean, we do it to some degree. I think there's just the boundaries are kind of a bit fuzzier than they used to be, really. So I'm desperate to try and get Olalis over here. I think they're amazing. So
I will check that out. We'll check both of those out. Great recommend.
Thanks, guys.
So I would say, look, honestly, great to see you both. Can't wait to see you in November. Really want to thank you for your time. We love what you're doing. For those out there that haven't heard you guys, you need to go and check Aircooled out. You guys are doing some great stuff, and we're absolutely loving it. And obviously, we'll stay in touch. And we'll see you in November. And so we're big fans. And thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having us.
Love talking to you.
And one more question: is there anyone else works in the record shop we should be looking out for?
Look, I have to say that locally, Hastings was when I first moved here, and I'm not suggesting this is anything to do with me, but when I first moved here, it felt like it was a lot of kind of covers bands.
There is still that card.
That's still there, yeah, exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's in the last sort of 4 or 5 years, but particularly the last 2, we've had Kid Capici, Hot Wax, Us, OPD. I'm missing people. I mean, there's
it's Chimer,
and
Borough Council,
and all sorts of others. Yeah, Borough Market, no, not Borough Market. There are others I know I'll have missed, but there's an extraordinarily healthy and fairly successful scene happening here at the moment. So yeah.
Well, the big one for me as well was having a bacon sandwich in the Sovereign Light Cafe.
Yes, there you go. That's right.
A keen song, and I love that track. So
we often get people coming in the shop asking where the Sovereign Light Cafe is. They're always keen fans.
I need to come down. Shot. I feel like I've missed out. I'm coming down, mate. I'll be down soon.
It's in a beautiful building as well, so it's worth coming for a visit because the Delaware is beautiful.
I'm definitely up for that. I'll be down.
Cool. Excellent. Guys, we love the album. We love what you're doing. Really glad I stumbled across the famous record stop. And we'll speak soon. And keep up the good work. We're absolutely loving what you're doing. It's great.
Thank you. You too.
Have a nice weekend.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for your time.